Hey everyone, this is Nick. I want to talk to you about saving your PowerPoint files in Google or in a Google Drive. A lot of people use Google Drive for storing their files. Maybe they want to use their files for collaboration across teams or across people. I want to kind of caution you against that when you're working in PowerPoint specifically, when the end user is going to be presenting something in PowerPoint or using an actual PowerPoint file. We all know that Google has their version of PowerPoint, right? It's called Google Slides. But Google Slides is not the same as PowerPoint, and PowerPoint is not the same as Google Slides. They do not always talk that well to each other, even though you can kind of get by and collaborate on each of them sort of in tandem. You really shouldn't. They're two separate beasts. So I want to kind of show you one of the reasons why I don't like working in Google Slides. So this is PowerPoint file right here. We have our PowerPoint file up. This is a video that we made about the selection pane and using the selection pane. And I want you to go over here and see my selection pane open. I've renamed all of the different objects here that are on my slide. So I've meticulously gone through each of my slides in this deck, and I've renamed all of the objects here in my PowerPoint file so that everything is very clear. When I open the file, I know exactly what objects go where, and I know exactly what each of the objects is named. So I'm going to go over here to my Google Drive, and I'm going to just go ahead and drag my file into the Google Drive so that it saves my PowerPoint file. Now, when you do that, you can see this little icon right here. It's indicating that this is a PowerPoint file. It's not a Google Slides file. If I open the file, just double click, it's going to say opening the file in Google Slides. It doesn't necessarily mean that this is a Google Slide file. However, you can still see the .pptx sort of extension right over there. You can click through here, but you can see there's some things that just aren't going to play well when you're trying to work with this online, because this chart here is now an object, it's not a live chart, things like that. So there is an option here that you can go into the File tab and save it as a Google Slides. So save as Google Slides. I'm going to go ahead and save this as Google Slides. It does a little bit of thinking, and now it opens in the Google Slides file. Now I could share this and I could collaborate with other teams if I wanted to. But this is going to be what happens. When I go to download this file as a PowerPoint file, I'm going to go to File, and I'm going to say Download. I'm going to go ahead and say Download into PowerPoint, because ultimately I want to present this on a screen and I want to present it with PowerPoint. When we open it into our download, from our downloads folder, now we're going to look at that selection pane, and everything has been kind of redone for me because of saving it as Google Slides and then exporting it as PowerPoint. So when I go to my selection pane now, you'll see that everything is Google Shape 87, Google Shape 86, Google Shape 85, Google Shape 84. All of the elements on my slides have been transferred or have been kind of switched over to these weird Google Shape names, and all the names that I spent hours and hours and hours meticulously planning and renaming things on my selection pane are now gone, because I saved this as Google Slides and then I exported it back to PowerPoint, and now everything is gone. Now, the way to make sure that you are maybe fixing this solution is if you go back to the file that you saved, if your file is still PowerPoint, actually I'm going to refresh this so that you can see two of my files here. You can see this was the one that I saved as Google Slides. You can see that Google Slides icon right there. This is the one that is the PowerPoint file that I just put in there for storage. I don't want to work with this file in a web browser. I just want to put this here in my Google Drive for storage. If we were to go ahead and open this, that PowerPoint file, and then if I were, since this isn't a Google Slides file, if I go to download and save as PowerPoint, let's just download that, and now we're going to open that file, and it should retain all of my object names in the selection pane. So I'm going to go ahead and say enable editing. Let's go ahead and open our selection pane again, and now you can see everything is nice and easy. So if you're collaborating in Google Slides, don't export things to PowerPoint and expect things to be the same. And if you're starting in PowerPoint, putting it in Google for storage, don't expect things to be the same when you export it again to PowerPoint if you save those things as Google Slides. So my recommendation is to work with PowerPoint, save the version, put it into Google if you need to use it for storage, but then download it, work with it in PowerPoint, re-download it to Google Slides, etc. It's a little bit more of a clunky workaround, but if you're going to use Google Slides, I would recommend using Google Slides from start to finish, and don't worry about sort of exporting it into PowerPoint. Use one or the other, not really both. So that's a nice little tip right there, I think. Use one or the other, not both. You can be a great Google Slides designer, or you can be a great PowerPoint designer, but you should not try to marry the two because they are not the same program. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and make sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell next to it. You'll get notified every time I post a new video in data design, usually PowerPoint, Excel, or Word. Had a great time making this for you, and I can't wait to see you next time.